Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Weekend Winners in association with BetVictor. This is your go-to show for your best bets ahead of the weekend. And this weekend, the flat is back. The Lincoln is the curtain raiser for the flat turf season at Doncaster on Saturday. And we're going to be looking ahead to Doncaster's action. And I'm going to be looking ahead to these races in my usual company of Declan Ricks of AtTheRaces.com and of Sam Boswell of BetVictor. So Declan, excited for the flat season?
Yes, I am. I love the flat. I think it's a great game. Sadly, we don't have the following that the jumps game gets. I'm hoping that can always change year on year. But yeah, look, I love the flat. It's a great game. Trying to break down these races tactically, I think is fascinating. The pedigrees, the betting, the draw, the biases, the whole lot. Hugely interesting game. And so to answer your question, yes, I am very excited.
Good. Well, we're expecting pedigree stats galore from you because we know you like to fire them at us at the best of times. But as Declan said there, Sam, it's a fascinating time of the year because we've got the back end of the jump season, still so much to look forward to in that sphere. But then we've got so much anticipation for all of these flat horses to be coming back out on the turf again.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a big season for the flat, and let's hope we find another superstar. Obviously, Baid last year, whilst he ended on a slightly disappointing note, he kind of carried the flame last year. We've got Constitution Hill, haven't we, over jumps now, that really is the big superstar. This flat season, we need to see an emerging superstar, and I'm sure we'll find one or two to talk about throughout the course of the summer.
Hopefully we are going to get that, definitely. Now, as a reminder, as ever, to please do gamble responsibly, that our tips are not guaranteed to win, but we will still do our best to point you in the right direction anyway. And do also remember to like and subscribe to the At The Races YouTube channel so you never miss an episode. Right, let's crack on with the flat action. We're going to start, funnily enough, at Doncaster, because that is our meeting that we're focusing on. This is with the Spring Mile, funnily enough, over a mile at 2.25, a very competitive renewal where it is currently 7-1 the field. So, Declan, who are you siding with?
Yeah, it's going to be, we probably should say, it looks like the meeting's going to start on soft, heavy ground. It's going to be taxing conditions, probably the softest we've had for the opening day of the season for a few years now. But I like Arthur's Realm. He actually won this race last year and he's now £9 higher, suggesting that he'll need to improve. But to be fair, after he won this race last year, he did go on improving. He's got plenty of form here in the straight mile at Doncaster. I think his form figures here read 1, 3 and 5. You know, in these big field races, I do like to look for those horses who've got kind of big field experience, the hustle and bustle. But the real kicker with him, I think, could be that he's had a run this season, given the ground. You know, stamina, as much as speed, is going to be on testing here. As well as fitness levels. He made a lovely comeback at Newcastle a couple of weeks ago, just like he did in the ahead of his winning return last year. And I just hope that kind of residual fitness that he has might give him a bit of an edge over this field. So yeah, it's going to be Arthur's Realm, last year's winner for me. I'm hoping he can go back to back. OK, doubling up then for Declan. Double Declan, there you go. Sam, who are you siding with?
Yeah, I've kind of taken a similar approach to Declan. My horse ran and won at Newcastle last time out, and that was after a significant layoff from injury. It's the Gatekeeper. It's a 10-1. I think a bit of an each-way steal here. And the ground, I suppose, let's get that out of the way, could potentially be a negative here. The only time we've seen this horse on the soft, he did flop at Beverley, but that was over 5 furlongs in his younger days. We're seeing him here at Newcastle. Andrea Zini got off and said, you know, whatever he'd done today, that he would improve for the run. And if he does that, I think he's going to be a real runner here. The second and the third have since won from this race, and I know that's a little bit of a different sphere at Newcastle on the all-weather, but I definitely think he's got untapped potential. He had quite a significant injury. I think it was a leg fracture. We hadn't seen him since the commentary at Royal Ascot, and to all effects, he looks like he's obviously recovered well. They've given him plenty of time, and I just thought 10-1 is a huge price for something that's relatively unexposed in this field.
Yeah, OK, so going with the unexposed angle, I can completely understand why in this handicap. And, I mean, for me, obviously, this is wide open. The market is telling us that in itself. But I don't think this is as classy a renewal as we've seen in recent years. The fact that the top weight is only running off of a mark of 92 tells you that. But that also means that the top weight, Isla Kai, must be given respect, therefore. But I think the market's got it spot on here with Baltimore Boy from Isla Kai. But I'm siding with the younger legs of Baltimore Boy, who did well to finish second when he was last seen. clean because he was ridden in rear, which wasn't the place to be in that classified stakes at Ascot behind the old boy Raising Sand. The horses who finished apart from Baltimore Boy in the frame there were all ridden prominently. He had to make up a whole load of ground from 2 furlongs out, so it was a real eye-catcher on that occasion when he was reverted to the turf. Now, I say that was in classified, but his handicap mark was unchanged from that, and I definitely think on the basis of last time out that this handicap mark looks very feasible for him to win off of. So yeah, Baltimore me for Boy. There you go. Baltimore Boy for me. Declan.
Yeah, it's going to be Arthur's Realm for me, please.
And Sam?
The Gatekeeper for me.
Perfect. Right, that has definitely divided opinion, but we want to hear your opinions as well, so please do leave us a comment in the section below with your own selections for this race. Now we're going to move on to our next contest at Doncaster. This is the Camage. This is at 3 o'clock. The Camage Trophy Stakes, a listed contest. Lots of talented sprinters in here, Sam, so where are we looking?
Yeah, I respect the favourite, but at 5-2, I definitely, first time out, want to try and take this horse on. For all he's won first time out previously, I kind of really like the look of Asjad here. The 4 runs at Doncaster previously have resulted in 2 wins, a second, and you can forgive the bad run. That came as a 2-year-old in a race where he was just far too keen. I really think the soft ground will be right for him. He's proven that he can do it on those kind of conditions. We don't have a massive sample size for yard form. The only horse I've had in the last 2 weeks finished second at Kempton, which is good enough for me. They've got a great bunch of horses. Obviously, John Dance supporting James Horton with some fantastic talent there. And I just really like the look of this horse. He's got to take another step forward, but I think he's capable of doing that. And at the prices, I just thought there was a little bit of value there.
And speaking of that with the yard form, have you seen the developments of the yard now that it's all kind of materialised?
It's incredibly impressive, isn't it? And you know, people putting huge investment into racing facilities is what we see, and it's great. It's what the game needs as well. You know, people want these facilities to train from, and fair play. You can buy the horses, but you've got to have the right facilities around you, and clearly that's what John Dance is trying to do.
Yeah, exactly. He's definitely got a good trainer to go to war with anyway, with his horses and with all of the facilities that he has now. So Declan, who are you siding with?
Yeah, no, I think Sam has summed that up very well. I'm with Asjad as well. I want to take on the 2 at the head of the market, El Caballo and Comanche Falls. I think I just don't think El Caballo is as good as the market suggests. 1, 2, I think the ground could be a negative for him, and Comanche Falls is another who could struggle on this ground as well. Both of those horses, you know, this is obviously a 6 furlong race. They're not real kind of speedster 6 furlong horses. They tend to race behind the bridle. So I think kind of if they don't handle this ground and that running style could possibly be exacerbated. So I want a horse who's going to travel, and you know, Asjad does that for fun. He showed last season he can handle soft ground very well. As Sam said, he's got a good record here at Doncaster, and his record fresh is good as well. Look, now he does need to improve, but you know, the trainer made a fast start last season with his runners. Good young trainer. Yeah, I just like Asjad, but I think he offers a little bit of value. I want to take on the top 2 at the market. That's the main play.
I'm always wary when the pair of you two start agreeing and when I disagree with the pair of you two, because when you two are in agreement, you're not too far off the mark either. But I'm hoping the pair of you are going to be, no offence whatsoever, because I was really toying between the Carl Burke runners within here, the favourite, and also Fast Response. So when I saw El Caballo opened up at the price that he did, and Fast Response was a 10-1 shot, it was a gimme for me to want to side with the filly, who just had a brilliant time of things last season. She had quite a lengthy season, admittedly, but towards the back end, we just saw her in such a better effect. She won 3 of her last 4, 2 of which came on heavy ground. She's 2 from 2 on heavy ground. And like we've touched upon on the ground conditions then for this Saturday, it's going to be very, very testing. She won't mind that whatsoever. So really like her chance. And she also signed off with a win in a course and distance listed contest as well. So it just made perfect sense for her to then cite this race, where lots of these horses, I'm expecting them to be using this as a springboard to go on to other targets later in the season rather than for her. I think this will probably be her main aim. So Fast Response for me. The pair of you two, who wants to sum up yours?
We're going for Asjad, aren't we? Declan and me are going to be right. But I do like your shout, Kate, and definitely an each-way play at 10-1.
She made my shortlist as well, given the ground. She was very impressive over this course and distance at the back end last season, wasn't she? So, as we say, ground is going to be key this weekend. So shooting into the dark a little bit. So it's going to be a very informative weekend.
I appreciate the token vote of confidence.
No
so thank you
token
for
about it at all.
farming that over for me anyway. Again, do leave us your own selections in the comments below. Now we're going to move on to the big race of the weekend. This is the Lincoln Handicap. Comes up at 3:35 over a mile at Doncaster. So, Declan, this is a hugely prestigious race, but who wins it?
Yeah, well, I'm hoping Mostasab is going to win it for the William Haggis yard. Look, I've gone down through this. There was a handful of horses you could have chosen. I thought of the kind of ones towards the 4 in the market, he was the most overpriced. I just think kind of straight track racing really brings out the best of him. He's a strong travelling horse, travels for fun. I think going past the 3-pole, he's going to be cruising. It's interesting that they're reaching for a first-time tongue tie as well. If that ekes out a little bit more improvement, that's another plus as well. And look, William Haggis' yard is red hot at the moment. I think he's operating at about a 53% strike rate, maybe even a little bit higher. Has a good record in this race as well from very few runners. I know Mr. Haggis has got the market leader as well, but I prefer this fella at the prices. I just think that the race is going to set up nicely for him. Is versatile in terms of ground. Maybe the ground being this soft might just stretch his stamina a little bit, so I hope he's given a good, confident ride by Kieran Fallon. But look, it's a very competitive race. You could have picked out, 5 or 6 here made the short list, and I think maybe 12 made the long list. But he was the one at the prices that I sided with, Montestip.
Nice price selection then for Declan, Sam. Are you looking similar, or are you more towards ahead of the market?
Declan's got the right trainer again, and I'm being really boring tipping up the favourite, aren't I? But Alma here, for me, I'm really excited about this horse in the context of this race. I think you go back through and look at the Haydock run, that was on, pretty attritional conditions, which was similar to what we're going to get today. So that box is ticked. Declan's already referenced how well he's doing. 57% strike rate, Dec. I mean, he's absolutely flying. It's really what you'd love to see. I go back as well to Tom Marquand's comments. He mentioned after the win at Haydock how the soft ground was a big help and that this horse has got a big future. Obviously, he's got the right profile for the race. The one thing I would say is you tend to want a horse rated around 100 to win this race. He's obviously not there yet. It's the only kind of negative when I was trying to pick holes through. But I think this is a strong renewal. He's drawn in 10, so I guess going to get potentially the choice of either side if there is a bias, maybe. I don't know. It's going to be hard. We'll have to see how the races unfold earlier on the card. Hopefully, it's fair either side.
You must really fancy him if you would have been keen on him with more weight on his back.
Yeah. I mean, that's a fair point.
Give him an extra few pounds.
Yeah, no bother to him.
But looking through the race, he was just, I know it's a pretty boring selection at 4-1, but that's kind of where I came down on.
If they win, they win. Then we don't care what kind of a price that they went off at, Sam. But you talk about the bias, though. It's fascinating in this race because your general rule of thumb on better ground is sort of middle to high in recent renewals. But then we saw last year, you all wanted to be against the far side rail then. And when we get testing conditions at Doncaster, that tends to be the way to play it. But again, I was just trying to head with a horse down the middle to at least give myself some option because I was going around in circles with the biases for this. And the one for me is Atrium, who is bidding for a belated hat-trick here, winning his final 2 starts of last season. Now, in terms of Lincoln, I always look towards 4-year-olds, and the market is clearly doing that as well, with horses of that age winning 5 of the last 6 renewals of this race. The one exception of those being last year's winner, but as I say, that was a bit of an anomaly and many reasons there with Johan. But again, focusing on the 4-year-olds this time around, hopefully Atrium can continue his progression here after his success over this course and distance when last seen. Very likeable, run in a solid time, form is solid. He handled the soft ground on that occasion very well, and he appears to favour a straight track because his 5 career wins have all come on a straight track. And he could be marked up for that run last time out, if anything. He was drawn in 17, yet he ended up against the far side rail. He had to cover the most ground of all of them, so certainly capable of defying the £4 higher mark. Atrium for me, Sam.
Alma here for me.
And Declan?
It's going to be Montesab for the red-hot Haggis yard for me.
Oh, so for the Haggis yard. Again, do leave us your own selections in the comments below. Again, we always like to hear from you, so do let us know who you are siding with. Now we're going to move on to the 4:10. This is the Doncaster Mile, another competitive contest that we have up next. And it's great to see Sky Sports Racing ambassador Holly Doyle back riding. She looks to have a good ride here on Tempest. But Sam, who are you siding with?
Yeah, Poker Face is going to be the favourite. I appreciate we've got the SP prices on there, but the thing I love about the flat is where we pick up these kind of horses that are unbeaten and the unexposed nature of them, and there's so much more potentially to come. And I think this horse definitely has that kind of profile for me. Definitely looked upwardly mobile, I think, when winning last time out. Drops back in trip today. The sire suggests that they'll handle the softer ground, which they haven't encountered previously before, so I'm not too worried about that. I think the horse will be a about a 6-4 chance, and I'm pretty sure, I think that's a fair value favourite for something that's going to have to show a bit more, but I think has the opportunity to do so.
Yeah, is open to any amount of further progression, really, isn't he? And you can understand why, I say, if he's about to go, due to go off that kind of a price, it's difficult to argue with that, Declan, is it?
No, actually, I don't think it is. Myself and Sam are going to be butting heads here. Look, don't get me wrong, I think he's the most likely winner. He's got a lovely profile, gone to the track 3 times, won 3 times. He's probably open to more progression than plenty in here. Just one thing, I think this is going to be the softest ground he's encountered, 1. 2, I think dropping down to a mile, having looked so good over 10 furlongs at Pontefract the last time, not sure that's going to play to his strengths, and that could be exacerbated again because I don't see a lot of pace on the race. So look, it is a step up in class for him. So at the prices, I'm happy to take him on. Look, could he go and bolt up? Absolutely. He's actually by Fastnet Rock out of a Galileo mare, and that cross actually sired an Oaks winner once upon a time and qualified for Aidan O'Brien, and kind of the pedigree and how he won at Ponty suggested he was probably worth a trying over 12 as opposed to a mile. So look, at the prices, I'm happy to take him on. I like Imperial Fighter at the prices. This is a horse, you go back through his profile, run against the likes of Luxembourg, Caribus, a Guineas winner. You know, he's been taking on some proper horses. 3rd in the Irish Guineas last year. He's by the Gurkha, has form on soft ground. Has been gelded as well, and is by a trainer who I think is just getting better and better. And Andrew Bowling, he's probably getting better stock now into his care, and he is going well with them. Andre Etzini rides Doncaster well. I just think at the prices, Imperial Fighter does look overpriced to me. So yeah, it's Sam's horse could bolt up, but at the price, I'm happy to take a little swing.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you, though, where, like I say, Pokerface could be absolutely anything at this stage, but I am still just going to take him on at what we're expecting him to go off at his current, well, at the price we're expecting him to go off at, because I would much rather side with the aforementioned Tempest for Holly Doyle here, because he's a proven class act in this field, and I think that that's going to be enough for this race. And yes, he's a 7-year-old now, but he comes here fitter than most after running in a Doha Group 2 on his most recent outing. He was caught a bit wide on that occasion, but wasn't beaten all that far behind Order of Australia, but he was a dual Group 3 winner last season, admittedly on good to firm ground, but he's won on heavy before and run well in soft conditions as well, so I'm not too perturbed by the ground for him. Being fitted with first-time cheek pieces might just sharpen him up. Archie Watson Yard in decent nick, and as I say, with Holly Doyle then back from her injury, it'll be fantastic to see her have a Saturday winner on the board. So to reiterate, Declan?
Yeah, it's a value bet here for me, an Imperial Fighter, please.
And Sam?
Pokerface to realise the potential that's there, and for the half-full kind of glass type of punter.
Oh, that's it. Ever the optimist is our Sam. And
see, what's really happening here, Sam won't admit to everybody, he's actually a Lady Gaga fan.
Well, I'll write some tunes.
Yeah.
Oh, she does have a fair few toe tappers, doesn't she, old Gaga? But yeah, but I am also there. Well, I'm with Tempest here for Holly Doyle to hopefully fly the flag on her return. Now we're going to head over to the Sky Pad, where I'm going to get the lads' best bets for the weekend. It's time to reveal our best bets for the weekend. So that is our nap, our next best, and our long shot. So Declan, you know the score by now. You're up first.
Yes, it's going to be an all-flat theme for me this week. The nap is actually going to run at Kempton in the 2:05 Fox's Tails for Andrew Bowling and Oisin Murphy. The key here is I want to take on the favourite Secret State of Charlie Appleby's at the prices. I think he makes the market for a really good bet here. Has no all-weather experience and has his first start of the season. Fox's Tails, I thought, ran very well behind Lord North in the Winter Derby last time out. A slightly tactical race where he had a wide trip everywhere. He ran on really nicely. I'm hoping he'll take another step forward for that as well. The next best we've already discussed earlier in the show, that was Asjad. And then the long shot is actually going to run in the Lincoln. Empire State of Mind for John Quinn and £5 claimer Taylor Fisher. I think if Doncaster is turning out to be a real war of attrition, I think it's going to suit this lad. He's got quite a bended knee action, goes through soft ground very well. Plenty of straight track form here at Doncaster as well. And John Quinn knows how to win this race. So at about 20-1, I think he can get maybe a little bit bigger. He'll do for me as the long shot of the weekend.
This is definitely a weekend to be citing a long shot such as that. Like I say, with the testing conditions that we have at Doncaster, it might just be enough to throw us up some slightly strange results then. And yeah, Yeah, he's made a good case there, Sam, hasn't he? But your own best bets.
I'm taking Declan on in my nap. Tyrian Sea in the Magnolia Stakes. I really, really like the look of this horse. Obviously, we saw him second last time out in the Winter Derby to Lord North, who's gone on to do impressive things yet again out in Meydan. 11-2, I thought, was an absolutely cracking price for this horse that I think there's a little bit more to come. He could just be a little bit soft in the finish, so hopefully he can get onto the lead. And as Declan said, Charlie Appleby, for once, doesn't seem to be having the best time of things. A couple of his have disappointed recently, so let's take him on with Tyrian Sea. The next best is Asjab. We've already spoken about him at great length. Declan and me clearly agreeing there, which is good news potentially after last week when we all agreed and got a winner. And my long shot is Crafter. This is an interesting horse. Should be around 8-1, I think. And we need to talk about Billy Knockname, because if you don't know who this kid is, you must be on Mars. He's going to be an absolute sensation. Obviously, he's been tearing up on the all-weather through the winter. He's down to claiming 5 now. This race, the horse has been pretty disappointing since he left France, but his only win in France in his 2 starts came on really testing conditions, which he gets today. He's had a couple of races on the all-weather, which I think should have his fitness edge ahead of others, and a mark of 68. I think on the turf, if he's back to his best in soft conditions, is ripe for exploiting.
Oh, I cannot wait to see you two having the nap off, though, within this. I mean, Tyrian Sea is one of the best-looking horses in training, isn't he? We spoke about him a few weeks back. He's just a beautiful, beautiful animal. But I wouldn't like to call it between the pair of you two, so I'm just going to leave you two for your nap battle. And I'm going to go elsewhere then for my nap, because it is Atrium for me in the 3:35 at Doncaster, hopefully to bring up the belated hat-trick. As I said earlier, I'm not too concerned about the ground for him. He is by Holy Roman Emperor, but his dam certainly appreciated a softer surface, and I think he can defy it, the £4 rise. My next best bet is another horse that I spoke about earlier on, Baltimore Boy in the 2:25 up at Doncaster in that wide open Spring Mile contest there, and I just think he remains open to plenty of further improvement back in a handicap. And my long shot is one that is actually probably a little bit shorter than I was initially expecting, but he has been back since the market opened up. That is Yannifer in the 3:35 at Doncaster, a horse that we know handles bad ground. He proved that on his final start of last season when winning at Catterick on ground that Timeform officially called heavy on that occasion. And then he ran a solid race, I thought, in the Lincoln Trial at Wolverhampton last time out. He was drawn widest of all. He was pitched wide. He was keen in the run, just fresh and gassy. And then he wasn't beaten overly far whatsoever. And that race has a good bearing then for this particular contest as well. So I just thought that he's a horse that's been readily dismissed, provided he settles, provided he gets a trip. All of the conditions are fine for him. So barring those two little caveats, we're absolutely fine then for Yannifer. So that is all of our best bets for the weekend. Again, do leave us a comment with your own best bets for the weekend. Big thank you to Declan and to Sam for all of their hard work as per usual. Big thank you to you for watching. Do remember you can catch all of Doncaster's action live on Sky Sports Racing. We'll be back next week, but on Thursday, because we're going to be previewing the All-Weather Championship Finals Day. So make sure you join us again for that.